Lounge. Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl KiKi. Thank y'all so much for coming in the VIP Lounge. All right, we back up on YouTube and Instagram. So listen, we have a lot going on in the culture tonight. But before we get to the culture, I want to introduce our special guest this evening. He is the urban counselor. Okay, his name is Dana Lewis. Dana is a licensed clinical social worker. He's a certified trauma professional. He is the co-founder of the Whole Life Center in Baltimore, where he helps men and married couples navigate through trauma, stress, and anxiety. He builds solid marriages and heals the mind, the body, and the soul. He is also the host of Ethos Radio, ETHOS Radio on AMP. I don't know. Listen, the urban counselor and other people have put me on to AMP. If y'all don't have it, it's AMP. Get on there. Check my brother, the urban counselor, out. Dana Lewis. Welcome to Damn Shame Podcast. Welcome to the live. We are here.
Man, thank you, KiKi. I'm glad to be here. To the VIP family that came in, salute. I see some of my family coming through. So I'm glad y'all here, and I'm ready for this conversation tonight.
Yes, so order y'all bottle service, cocktails, mocktails. Let's toast to tonight.
Toast,
Cheers.
toast. Gotta stay hydrated.
Listen, I'm with you. This is water in here too. We gotta hydrate tonight, okay?
Exactly.
I know y'all saw KiKi working out, man. She's trying to get it together. Ow. Okay. So we are, in this detox thing over here on the Damn Shame Podcast team. So we're taking it light tonight. But please just bear with us. Get your mocktails and your cocktails ordered. So as I said, we have a lot going on in the culture, but I'm gonna give you a little quick tip in 60 seconds or less of what's going on in the culture. Y'all, Trump is getting arrested tomorrow. He said he's getting locked up. They're gonna let him out though, man. Y'all be very clear. It'll be a couple of hours or something. Now, I'd be surprised. I cannot wait to see how this all unfolds. But he is encouraging his followers to protest and take back the nation. That's sounding like another take over the Capitol, storm the Capitol. Please, y'all, come on now, not again. That would be a damn shame, right? I'm telling you. So listen, John Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, he out here in these IG streets. You a whole professional sports basketball player, and you in the club exposing a gun and saying that hip hop made me do it. Why they did that? He was influenced by hip hop. And so now he is trying to get his mental health thing, help and his therapy and all of that he needs in order to get back on the right track. But do better. If you know better, do better, especially when you are such an influence to our Black culture like that, Mm-hmm. So another thing in the news, Tamar Braxton is talking about Candy Barris's husband calling him Tadina. Yo, I thought that was so funny, right? But listen, Tamar and Candy had some woman-to-woman conversation. They had exchange. And here you go, a man stepping into a woman's common argument. Sir, are you trying to be one of them? I'm confused. What are we doing here? That's a damn shame, okay? So there's a lot going on in the culture. Y'all, it's spring. We are outside. We are having a good time. Y'all, we had an amazing weekend, an amazing Monday, but kick back now with us here in the VIP lounge. Again, order your cocktails, your mocktails, because it's quite sexy up in here. Ow. So look, let's just get right to it. Let me go through this intro because we have a lot to unpack tonight. In a world where we have so much anger, tension, anxiety, and stress, it sometimes feels harder and harder to conquer this thing called life. While all of us are impacted daily by social injustice, economic disparities, and blatant racism, you will find that our Black men take the brunt of mostly all of society's ailments. That's a damn shame. The moment our men step out of the front door, they have a target on their back. Our men have to be strategic in every thought, expression, and action they take. This can be quite daunting for our brothers, and it's really downright unfair. But God has already equipped our Black men for times such as this. Not only should they tap into their faith, but our Black men should be granted a safe space to seek mental health therapy. Okay, VIPs, we all up in the lounge, everybody sitting back. But why do we think that our Black men shy away from this thing called mental health? That's why I have Urban Counselor here tonight to go in. What are your initial thoughts about it? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm glad to be talking about this topic. So I want to start with the root, right? And that's us going back to us as younger men, right? So when we were growing up in our communities, we were taught by some of our family members, by some men in the community that as men, we got to be strong. We can't show no type of weakness. If we show some type of weakness or sadness, you a pussy, you a wimp, you know what I mean? So then in turn, we as men, we just hold back in expressing our feelings. And also what we were taught as men is that we supposed to be the providers, right? And put other people before how we feel.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we just hold back our feelings and we feel as though like our strength comes from not being able to show weakness or
Yeah.
being able to evade weakness. Or, like if we are showing strength, it's like how much can I take, how much can I endure and then move on, because then that proves that I am a strong man. So it has a lot of roots from that point right there, as children growing up and learning these narratives that
Yeah.
we're not supposed to show our emotions in certain aspects. But even strong men crack, and even strong men need support. But I'm glad that we're here today in this generation where men are being a more open and more vocal about their struggles and about getting into mental health.
Absolutely. But look, mental health, it has such a negative stigma,
Yeah.
with the Black community as a whole,
Mhm,
but especially for our Black men. And it
mhm.
requires our brothers to be vulnerable. What are
Vulnerable.
your thoughts around that? Men seeking mental health and their vulnerability.
So, like I was saying just a few minutes ago, like I'm glad that men are being open with their struggles and seeking mental health, because, like I tell men often, that it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to seek help, because our greatest strength, our greatest asset is being able to get support and being able to get help. And when it comes to vulnerability, some of us as men are leery about vulnerability, especially if they went in a situation where they expressed themselves and it didn't get received well in that moment. So in turn, they just hold that back if they had a negative experience when they were trying to be vulnerable in life.
Okay, hold up. Our Instagram VIPs are saying that they're getting an echo or feedback. Can let me see what we can do about that. If I do this, can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear him. They're saying that they can't hear you. Um, how about now? IG, are you all getting a feedback? We want to make sure our VIPs are comfortable. Listen, we got music and all of that popping. We can't have no echo and all of that.
Right.
So give us a thumbs up if there's still an echo. Urban counselor, can you uh, We'll go on with the next question. If you cannot hear him, you're up on IG, right?
Yeah.
Your volume's up. I do hear a little echo. Let me see. Can you all hear me? IG. Thumbs up if you can hear me. They say it's not on my end, it's on your end.
On my end?
Yeah. Okay. While he fixed that, y'all share the live, share the live. I hear that it may be on his end. He's working it out over there on his end to see whether we still hear the echo. This is good dialogue. Be sure to hit that follow button on both the Urban Counselor page and Dame Shane podcast, Facebook and Instagram. Are we okay? YouTube, are we okay? All right. Y'all, because this is good conversation for our brothers, and I just don't want to miss out on that. So listen, here's a question that I have. What are some initial signs that a man may feel that would alert them that he could benefit from talking to a counselor?
Yeah. So, some signs that, a man could probably pick up on that may say, hey, I might need to get into therapy, is if I'm experiencing a lot of anger, high levels of anger, expressions of anger is coming out very often, feelings of hopelessness, sadness, lack of motivation, finding yourself engaging in like excessiveness, right? So engaging in excessive alcohol, excessive women, excessive spending, things like that are some telltale signs that, hey, you know what? I might need to get myself into therapy. I might need to have a conversation with a therapist like myself.
Okay. So what I hear, alcohol, excessive shopping, overeating, some of those things could be signs. And I guess, I can relate to all of that, the excessive spending, just trying to overcompensate for stuff and, these feelings that I'm having that I'm not sure of. So I guess it's the same for men as well.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. That is something. Do you think it's a desire? What about their desire to want to please people or always be, at the center of attention? That one that, yo, I'm it, and
Well, with that, what I've seen with that is when a man is engaging in that type of behavior, it's some insecurities underlying that right there. So if you find yourself engaging in that type of behavior or have any type of insecurities that's making you come out of being your most authentic self, then yes, that's also a sign that, hey, I might need to seek a therapist so I can get my identity in check. If I'm finding myself doing that often, being the center of attention. Because a lot of times when sometimes we as men display that type of behavior, it's covering up for other underlying issues that we may be having. So if you are engaging in that type of behavior, then that might be a sign that I might need to talk with somebody, a therapist.
Wow, that's interesting. What emotions do you feel are the safest for a man to express?
The emotions that is safest, in my opinion, for a man to express is when, he's frustrated, when he's feeling as though like he may not understand how to do something. So if he feels as though he may be inadequate, that's a safe feeling to express. Another safe feeling is if he's happy, if he's joyful, some of those feelings are safe. Another safe feeling that I believe is good to express for us as men is even anger, right? But it's safe to express that within a controlled room, such as therapy. Or if you are expressing anger, doing it in a healthy way, right? So maybe hitting the gym, hitting the boxing bag, or doing something healthy and positive that can help you to release that anger in a safe way.
Wow. So, I read something or heard something that said that men are easier. It's easier for a man to express anger than love. Can you give me some background around that?
So it's easier for a man to express anger than love because anger, it doesn't take much to express anger. you know, it's not very complex. But when you're talking about love, love requires every bit of you as a man. It requires every bit of you to express love. And when you trying to express love, that means like you got to go deep within yourself to express that. Whereas anger, it can be very like impulsive, right on the spot. But with love, I got to really tap into my emotions. I really got to think about making sure that I'm communicating love the way that the other person needs to receive it. So it's a lot more complex around expressing love as opposed to expressing anger.
Come on, VIPs, get in those comments. What do you think? Is it easier for a man to express his anger, or is it easier for a man to express his love? IG, Facebook, Instagram, type it in the chat. Let me know what your thoughts are, because this is really, a pivotal time for our black men. And we're all hurting, but I know our brothers are hurting, especially in the light of those recent social injustices that our brothers have experienced and have seen other brothers like them that look like them go through. And so again, like I said, it's that target on the back. But are they expressing more love, or are they expressing more anger? Y'all get in the comments. Again, I need to hear what the VIPs are thinking.
Hey,
And to
while we wait for
add,
some of these comments to come in, there is a question in the chat.
Okay.
While we wait for them to respond to what you just asked, but Terrence wants to ask: can a woman therapist treat a man with his issues as a man, or a man treat a woman with her issues? I guess just the opposite sex therapist, and how helpful is that?
So let me repeat that for IG. IG, the question came in on Facebook or YouTube about a man having a female as a therapist. Can she treat a man?
Yes, yes, a female can treat a man in therapy. I know some men that have gone to see female therapists and they had a wonderful experience. Now, with that though, like with a female therapist, they have to be very sensitive to the man's experience. They can't judge a man's experience once he starts opening up in therapy. So they have to be very, very, very delicate in working with the man in that regard. But I have heard where men have tapped in with female therapists and they've been having a wonderful time and getting his needs met as far as healing is concerned. But yes, a female can speak to a man's issues in therapy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's good. I think that I have some apprehensions about talking to a man about my problems, and we shouldn't be that way. Um, well, something that kind of struck a nerve with me when you said, "Women, don't be judgmental over, if a man opens up to you," as if to say that's that was your first thing that you said, which I felt like is what you think a woman would be.
I mean, sometimes from what I've heard, just from personal, testimonies, where they have went to female therapists,
Come
and
on.
some female therapists were judging him in his disclosures. So then they came to see me, and we had that conversation about
And
how.
so let me tell you, some men play the victim role. So where at people, I'm gonna say, let me take that back. Some people play victim, okay, especially when they hear shit that they don't want to hear. And then it is, oh, well, they're judging me, or oh, they feel some sort of way about me. And that might be their own internal stuff that they have going on.
I mean, that's a point too. You know, that's a point too. If some things that may be going on that you're not taking accountability for, but at the same time, it's like when a man is opening up, and this is just in relationships too, like especially like because we already are kind of like on the fence sometimes as far as opening up. When we do open up, to the women out there, like please don't vilify us, please don't use that against us or judge us when we do open up, because when we do open up in those type of moments, that's a time to say, you know what, let me lock in, let me hear what the brother got to say.
Okay, Nightlife got something from Instagram. Come on, Nightlife.
So I got a question and I have a comment.
Okay.
All right. So the comment says it's hard to express emotions, period. Even if you express anger, persons view the man as lacking control or not having it together.
Mm, that's a good point.
Okay.
That's a good point.
And the question is, how can his woman help?
Yeah. So with that question, how can his woman help? Just be a support. Like I was saying, like listen to the man. When he opens up, don't judge him. Don't question him in that expression of feelings in that moment. Let him get it all out. And then ask exploratory questions to that man, just to process with him and to go deeper with him. So for women to support men when expressing feelings, it just be as a calm spirit as much as you can while we are
Okay.
opening up and sharing our thoughts. Because again, for men, it takes a lot for us to express our feelings and our emotions. So when you have us in that moment, seize the opportunity and don't fumble the ball, don't fumble the bag on us, being able to talk to you in that moment. Because once a man feels as though he can trust you in that moment, he's going to be more consistent down the road as far as opening up with his feelings to you. And
That's
when
right.
if you express, if a man expresses himself, right, and then later down the road you use that disclosure and weaponize it against that man, then that man's going to what, recluse,
Absolutely.
tuck back
Conservative
in.
with the Edge said that's why it's important to be honest in therapy. And so many people just give a little bit of honesty. And let me tell you something, if I'm going to pay my money,
Yeah,
I'm going to make sure
you're
that
gonna get
I
all of it.
just like vomit everything. And
Mm-hmm.
he did this and this happened. And she said that. And when I was a child. So it is very important to open up. Do you feel that a man's machismo or masculinity is vital to how he sees himself? How does a man's swag or manhood in the world? How does he deal with that? Keep his swag and his manhood if the
Mm-hmm.
world is constantly trying to tear him down.
Yeah. So with that, like for us as men, keeping our swag is very important, because as men we should walk with our head up high. We should have confidence, because it's in our identity, right? That when we start to embrace our confidence, our masculinity and things like that, our confidence goes right through the roof. So definitely don't turn down your swag, but also keep in mind too that it's spaces and places where your swag needs to be humbled as well. And just keeping that in mind, that don't diminish your light. Now we got to
Yeah,
show up big, we got to show up in a major way as men, but also keep in mind in certain aspects, certain places, we need to have discernment about when it is to be humble and when it is to turn it up a few notches. And when it comes to like society and how they display narrative, put out narratives about us as men, I think it's very important for us to always consider, okay, how can I override that narrative? And I
mm,
feel like, showing up in your truest self, your most swagged out self, allows you to keep conquering those narratives. Because as Black men, we gotta shine. We gotta
absolutely.
rise above all the things that we have to encounter when we step out, like you said earlier, out of our home. So having that swag is a protective mechanism, but also at the same time, we gotta know when to bring it in or bring it full out.
Do you think a man's pride places limitations on him?
Absolutely. Because when
Mm,
a man is prideful, he doesn't see that he has any flaws, anything that he needs to work on. Pride for men can rule us out of certain relationships that we need to be tapped in with. Pride can also have us, you know, making us miss our purpose too as men.
ooh, I like that.
So
Pride makes us miss our purpose.
pride make us miss our purpose, because if we're prideful, we feel like we know it all, that we got all the answers. And one thing about life, and for us as men, we constantly going to be growing and learning. We should be constantly growing and learning as men. So if we have
Absolutely.
that pride, it's just going to keep us stagnant. Even though with pride, it can make you feel like, oh yeah, I'm the man, I'm doing this. But nah, man, like eliminate that pride, see where you can get better, and don't forfeit your purpose because of your pride.
Yeah. So look, as a child, our black men, our black boys are told to not display their
Right.
emotions. Man, don't cry. Don't be a punk. Suck it up. Suck it up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this has caused some form of trauma for our
Absolutely.
black children into man that are going into manhood?
Absolutely. Definitely has caused some trauma because when you think about that and you carry that narrative of, hey, don't cry, don't show your emotions, what ends up happening is that you have kids that grow into men and they harboring all this anger, all this resentment. And then in turn, what I've seen over my years as a therapist, in turn, how that comes out is in violence, you know, like I said, intense anger outbursts and just doing things to get attention, but not in a positive way. So if we tell our young boys that, hey, don't show no feelings, don't show no emotions, those things later down in life can cause, a child to, engage in negative behaviors, and then as an adult, engage into some unhealthy behaviors. But if we start telling our young men that, again, even some of our older men, that, hey, again, it's okay to not be okay.
Huh.
Even with my son, he's 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he expresses his feelings like, hey, daddy, I feel sad today, or I'm not feeling good about this. What I do is I allow him to have that space and we talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's very important that if you have young men that's in your area or in your family and they expressing certain things, give them the opportunity to talk to you, provide that space for that type of conversation that he can understand at that time while he is expressing his feelings, because that's going to go a long way. Because then that will let the child know as he gets into manhood that, hey, I remember when I expressed my feelings to, just say, a caregiver, and they open up the floor for me to express myself. So it's normal that I can do that even as a man.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, nightlife.
So Dwindlet said that women need to change the men must be strong narrative, and so
Mhm.
it doesn't matter whether it's with the men or the boys.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Good point. So we have generational curses that plague our community, right?
Mhm.
Many men didn't grow up with their fathers, or if they did have their fathers around, they wasn't always the best model, right?
Mhm.
I've seen some men who are close to me say, I will never be like
Mhm.
my dad.
Like
I
my
will
father.
never do what my
Mhm.
father did. I will
Mhm.
never do that, right?
Mhm.
But then they end up doing the same damn thing. And you're like, come on now, how did we end it? You know how your father made you feel, or if there was no father around, how that felt. But why is it did you find that the same cycles continue? And then how can we break them?
Right. So yeah, I've heard that on numerous occasions where it's like, hey, I seen my father engage in this type of behavior and make that inner vow that, hey, I'm never going to be like my father. But then, life being life, us being humans, we slip up, we make those mistakes. But in order for us to change the narrative, in order for us to break that particular behavior, as far as us as men, it starts with making a decision and being honest with yourself. Like, hey, you know what? I am not doing that. Like, I am putting it all out there that I am not engaging in that. I'm decided, and that I'm going to decide to do better. I'm going to decide to move forward. So it's really about, initially being decided. And then how we break the generational curses once you're decided is, start to find ways where you can behave differently or expose yourself to information that can help you to behave differently. So exposing yourself to therapy, tapping in with a therapist, exposing yourself to mentors, right? If you can connect with a mentor, exposing yourself to different rooms where men may be, uh, men that you are looking to be like are in that room. So getting yourself in different rooms, connecting with a mentor, connecting with a therapist, and just being fully honest with yourself about, hey, you know what? I see that these behaviors are causing my downfall per se, but I need to really make a shift. And I
Yeah.
really need to be decided on shifting my behaviors so that I'm not repeating those same behaviors from the past and from generations before. And just keeping in mind, too, that you want to plant a new seed of a new legacy. you want to plant a seed of new legacy, new ground.
Yeah.
And keeping that in mind too can also motivate a man to say, you know what? No, I'm not going back. Can't go back.
Yeah. But we are environments of what we see, how
Yeah.
we grow up.
Right.
So again, it's kind of hard to change the mindset. And I think that, while they don't set out to say, oh, I'm gonna be just like that nigga that didn't, show up and left me sitting on the doorsteps, they kind of subconsciously something's in them where they leave their child sitting and looking for them out the window. We ain't necessarily sitting on doorsteps no more. But they're like, damn, is he gonna come today? He said it's Saturday, he gonna take me out to play basketball, and it's the little simple stuff.
Right. But that's where, for us as men, we have to be self-aware. We have to lean into being more self-aware so that we can understand that, this is what I've seen, this is what I've been exposed to. But me being self-aware helps me to see that, okay, this is how it's impacting my life, this is how it's impacting the people around me, and I need to make the necessary changes so that I can be better, so that I can be, different and transformed.
Yeah. I tell you, having power is controlling how you respond to things that happen to you. But some things we just simply cannot control that happen to us. What are some coping skills that you can give our brothers that would help them?
Absolutely. So this book right here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the Self-Discovery Journal for Men. This right here was a game changer. Just
Hold
for
it up
me.
again so they can screenshot it. Okay.
So being able to, have an opportunity to journal your feelings, write out your feelings, because there's a lot that's inside of us that we need to get out. So writing your feelings is cathartic and it's also therapeutic as well. And it also helps to calm the mind down. Just in being able to get those feelings out of our system, detox it out of our minds and putting on paper is a healthy way, for us as men to cope with various things that we have going on. I'm big on exercising, getting out there, working out your physical body, training your body, getting out in nature, being able to do that is also a healthy coping skill, coping strategy. Another coping strategy that I, advise men on is getting into like I said earlier, like exposing yourself to like support groups or mentors, getting in the room with different men where you can get a different perspective, tapping into, positive mindset content. So different thought leaders, different motivators is also a good way to help you to, deal with certain things as a man and being able to cope as well. Another coping strategy that I advise men on is to really have some moment of quiet time. Being able to get away from the noise, being able to just slow yourself down, give yourself an opportunity to breathe, because like we said before, we as Black men, we got a lot that we are responsible for.
Yeah.
And it's a lot that's on us. So we can find a place where we can tuck away, quiet our minds, gather our thoughts, regather our energy, restore ourselves. I'm big on men just getting that moment to just pull away from distractions, pull away from the noise so that they can center themselves again.
Yeah. Come on, VIPs, get in those comments on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Let us know some of your coping strategies, especially brothers. I need to hear from you all. What are some coping strategies that you use to kind of just, decompress and reset?
I know for me, I listen to music. I love music.
Right, music, yeah.
Music helps me to cope and relax.
Come on, Nightlife, give us.
JC DeWitt says he uses the journal app on his cell phone.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
There's a journal app on the phone to use. Get in those comments. Let us know what you all are using to cope, because we need to help each other, support one another. Again, share this live because it's so important for our brothers and the women and the females, because we all have, a brother on our hip, or we may have given birth to a male child, that we want to make sure that they have the tools that are necessary. This men and mental health thing is so critical.
Major.
And that's why we had to do this show.
Major.
It was so important. I'm telling you, I met this brother in a live community, somebody else's live community. And he was like, oh, I'm the urban counselor and I'm from Baltimore. I said, oh, well, I'm KiKi of Damn Shame Podcast. Let's connect. Let's collab. And that's how that thing came about. But it's so critical for our brothers. And so I'm sorry.
I just want to share some of the comments. Terrence Scott says, music, prayer, and talking with his wife. Just having my wife to vent to. She's his wife is his therapist, and helps him deal with stress. So, and someone asked that we share the book again. If you could hold it up one more time, I'm gonna put the name in the chat. Self-Discovery Journal for Men. All right.
Yeah, that book and another book that I want to recommend is Cry Like a Man by Jason Wilson.
You have that in front of you?
No.
Okay. Cry Like a Man by Jason Wilson.
Yep.
It's another book that you recommend.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff. So listen, I'm a boy mom, okay? And in full transparency, because this is an authentic podcast, right? I'm scared at times. You know, I was scared when he was young, and now he's 23, and I'm still, I think I'm even more scared now. Again, I talk about that target on your back. That is real. And so as a boy mom, I see him getting older and older. He's, you know, a man now, coming into his manhood. He's doing grown man things. And so I struggle more in letting go. And this is because, you know, I'm not, you know, part of me, maybe a little piece of me, parents out of fear. Fear because I don't want him to fall into the same pits that I've seen other brothers fall into, or I know other members of our family have, you know, fallen. And so I don't want to see him fall in those same pits. So I constantly, I say, I'm preaching, and if I ain't preaching, I'm praying. I'm preaching and I'm praying, okay? Constantly. And so I know he get tired of me, but I don't get tired of saying it because I need it to click. I needed to click. I needed to resonate. But what should we do as moms to help and not enable our Black brothers, our Black children, Black male child?
Black male child. So for the moms out there that are, you know, raising young kings out there, you know, so that you're not per se enabling them, you know, just have the conversations, you know, the necessary conversations, but don't come across like you're badgering, you know, the kid, you know, give him that space to talk and be himself. Something else that I recommend, you know, for moms that's raising, you know, young kings is, if you can, find like those support groups for young boys, you know, those programs out there that, you know, can support you in raising, you know, the child as well. I know it's a couple here in Baltimore that I tap in with. I know my brother, his name is Bobby Holmes. He has a program called Son of a Dream, where he helps to, you know, mentor young kings through media. So, you know, that's an outlet for parents to use as well. You know, if they want to, you know, have their kings tapped into something productive, and they also get mentorship by him, you know, so definitely finding other outside programs as well, you know, to support you as you are raising this young king. But definitely having those conversations, but don't like badger him to the point where he's like, oh, mom, I'm just closing up. But just have those conversations, let him open up, and also, you know, where you can, just share some things that, you know, that you may be concerned about, but in a way that is not as uncomfortable, if that makes sense, where he would shy away from you, but really have just open and honest conversations.
Yeah, it's a thin line between, you know, giving them advice and then not enabling them.
Right.
You know, I want to make sure that he can make decisions on his own and make the proper decisions. So I think that's key, you know, to get them linked up with some other positive outlets to help, you know, reiterate. Because here's the deal: if I say it, oh my, you OD, you don't know. Oh my
You
God, you
extra
doing
right
too
now.
much.
Come on.
Oh, you doing, come on, man, you doing too much. Where, if somebody else said the same damn thing.
Because, that was me. Like my mom, she was a single mom and she was trying to tell me stuff when I was like 16. I was in one ear, out the other. But it wasn't until I got into a mentorship program at Dunbar High School where I'm like, all right, I was hearing other guys talk to me. And I was like, okay, now it's making sense because I'm hearing it from another man.
Nice.
And not my mom. But I'm like, Mom, I had to come back and say, Mom, you was right. But I had to hear from, somebody else, another brother, another man at that time for it to click for me. So
yeah. All right, boy, moms of young kings, get in those comments, please, because it's hard. Yes, we're gonna post the therapist's name, the books that he recommends, and some of those mentoring programs. We'll make sure that we have them accessible because this is some good information. Nightlife, did we have some comments?
Oh yeah, conservative with Edge said that this session is so powerful.
wow.
And Dwindle says, so cool. There is support out there.
Yeah. All right, Facebook and YouTube. Get in those comments. Y'all be sure to share the live. Follow Urban at Urban_counselor because he is just a wealth of knowledge, as you can tell. So we're going to switch gears a little bit because, we want to get into that relationship aspect of things. How can we help our brothers who may have some mental health concerns and issues that they're working on, or just, know that they want to start working on but aren't quite there, but they in relationships and they taking the stuff that they're feeling into these relationships, and it just be a whole lot of. So listen, when a man has been grappling with how to cope and deal with past trauma, how does one ensure that he doesn't take this broken version of him into this relationship?
Yeah. So with that, I just want to keep it honest, right? If by any chance, right, you have any open wounds on anything that's unaddressed, you shouldn't be getting into a relationship at all. Because with that being said, right, when you get into a relationship with another woman, you're bringing that woman into this world of trauma, of pain that you did not resolve. And again, it's not about being perfect, but if we have some things that's unresolved, just suggestive. Do not get into a relationship because again, you're pulling that person into that. So it's very important for us as men, if we identify that we got some things that could show up in a relationship, we got some unhealed stuff that hasn't been managed, make sure that you get a hold of that first before you jump into a relationship. Because in my opinion, it's not fair to bring somebody into a situation knowing that you got per se anger issues, knowing that you got trust issues, knowing that you have mommy and daddy hurt, things like that. So it's very important that again that we as men, we be self-aware and that we tap into getting the help that we need prior to bringing somebody into the relationship.
But he might feel like this woman can help him get through to it. I mean, we had one of our VIPs on Facebook say that he has his wife and he pours into her and she's kind of his therapist. He might feel like he met a good woman and she has a sound mind and she can help him through all of that and deal with his pain.
So with that, it's not saying that again, because I'm married too, and my wife is a big support. But when you're in a relationship, it's not the other person's responsibility for your healing, right? It's not their responsibility. Yes, they can support you. Yes, they are a compliment to you, but they are not there to complete you.
Wow.
And it's up to us, meaning men or anybody that's getting into a relationship for that matter. If we got issues, that's not the other person's responsibility. It's our responsibility to do the necessary work that we need to do to heal. Now, again, it can be a compliment to you,
Yeah.
listen to you, hear you out, but they can't do the work for you.
We got a
It is.
question in the chat about what if you're already in a relationship? So you're giving good advice about, not to enter one if you have unfinished healing. But what if you're already in one? What do you suggest?
So let me give it to the IG world. Producer lady has said that someone on YouTube or Facebook has said that what if you're already in the relationship? How do you deal with that? You're already in a relationship.
So if you already are in a relationship, you've been building with this person in this relationship, and you still have some issues that needs to be resolved, then with that, it's a matter of us as men in that relationship to be totally upfront with ourselves first. And then once we are upfront with ourselves, then be upfront with our partners in the relationship, our partner in the relationship. They're saying, hey, you know what? And this is where accountability comes in. Accountability comes in like, hey, I know I've been, acting in such a way, whatever the case may be. And I know it may have been impacting the relationship. I'm sorry about that. And I see and I recognize that I need to get some help here. So it's about the man in the relationship being totally honest with himself in self-discovery time, in times where he can pull away and get real reflective and be honest with himself about his behaviors and how they're showing up in the relationship, then communicate that to the partner, and then get some help right away.
So how can a woman determine if a man hasn't quite dealt with his stuff, his trauma, his shit?
Right. So how a woman can determine is by the consistency of the behavior, because actions speak louder than words. 7% of communication is verbal, the rest is nonverbal. So I can tell by the woman can tell by the man's behavior if things are starting to change, if the man is starting to make some improvement. So by his actions, they will be able to determine, if the man is making progress with the particular issue. Because again, I can tell you, hey, babe, I'm gonna stop lying. I ain't gonna lie no more. I can tell you that. But if I'm really invested in you and if I'm really serious about the relationship, my behavior is going to speak differently. And it's going to speak differently. And you're going to see, like, all right, my man is changing now. He ain't lying no more about his actions, more so than his words.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love it. That's so key. Look at their actions, because what they saying, they can try to sell us on a dream. What Jay-Z say? I can sell ice to an Eskimo,
Water to a whale.
water to a whale. Yeah, come on now.
Oh.
So listen, it is in the actions, not in what they say.
Speak
Definitely.
louder than words.
Yeah, not in words. So I find that, when men will find a good woman, right? And he might feel like, I'm not really completely healed or whatever, but I want to keep her there, and he gives her false hope. He gives her open-ended promises that he can't really keep, but he doesn't want to lose her. He's scared. And so, is it a thing of whether, he's intentional or he's like subconsciously self-sabotaging these relationships because he's feeling a little bit inadequate, maybe, or, just that, or maybe he's selfish. Maybe he's just being selfish.
Well, with that, you read my mind on that. I was going to say selfish, right? Where that you're just holding this person as a placeholder, knowing that you're not going to advance it beyond where it's at, and that's not right. If you are thinking in that way of just putting somebody as a placeholder, knowing that you're not going to go far or build even further with this person, that's selfish, in my opinion. And I've dealt with that as far as like talking with men through that. That, hey man, you just can't keep a person in bondage per se because of your indecisiveness or your feelings that I like her, but I don't
I feel
know.
like Arsenio Hall. Yes, that's so
So,
true.
you can't keep a person in bondage because you got to think like if I'm in a relationship with you, I'm putting my time into it. It's an investment. And I don't want to waste my time. You don't want to waste the female's time or investment, if you're undecided. So if you are undecided, if you're not very clear, then hey, brother, you got to get clear, man. You got to get clear and not waste her time because that's the most hurtful thing is when you're in a relationship and you find out that you wasted your time or the person has been wasting your time.
Yeah.
And I tell brothers, I keep it honest with brothers when this particular topic comes up that, stop playing these games, man.
Yeah.
Get honest with yourself. If this is a relationship you want to build it. If it's a relationship that you're on the fence with and you're unsure, then have the necessary conversations with that person because I understand it could be some fears there that you don't want to let this good woman go,
Yeah.
but you don't want to cause that person more pain and more trauma by keeping them around, knowing that you don't want to advance it. So just have that
Some
conversation.
good stuff right here. That's some good stuff. I need to bottle you up. And then I'm gonna keep replaying this damn podcast to let these niggas know I ain't no placeholder, okay?
Because
Ladies,
like for people, right? We can get comfortable. Can get very complacent, and if we find a good woman, sometimes, it gets very comfortable, right? And then we get set in our ways, and we get very relaxed. But again, to my brothers out there that may be thinking in this way, don't waste that female's time, man. If you're
not
in
at
that
all.
thought process, don't waste the female's time because again, it's more hurtful, you know, proposing something or expressing that you're going to do X, Y, Z with this relationship, but you having other thoughts. Hey, better to be honest than to, keep somebody dragging along and then they find out that the whole time that you wasn't serious about building.
Yeah. So listen, on your show on AMP,
Yep.
Ethos Radio, right? Y'all
Yeah.
search them, the urban underscore counselor
Yep.
on
Tap in with me.
Ethos and on AMP, I'm sorry, Ethos Radio, right? You
Yep.
talked about the term narcissist
Narcissist.
and
Yes.
how society uses it loosely.
Very
And
loosely.
it kind of just grinds your gears and you ain't with it, okay? Please, let's talk about that and how it plays out in relationships.
Yeah, so I did an episode on my radio show, Ethos on AMP, Tap In With Me over there, where I really broke down the word narcissism, right? So over these last 3 years, I've been just listening to different relationship podcasts, and I've been hearing that word used very loosely, right? Very out of context. So for instance, a person may say, "Oh, he ain't buying me that Birkin bag. He a narcissist. Oh, she don't cook for me. She's a narcissist. She don't give me XYZ or he don't give me XYZ. He's a narcissist, right? So I just wanted to set the record straight that when we're using that term narcissism or narcissist, that's actually a diagnosis that we're using out here. And we gotta be very conscientious about just flipping out diagnosis and weaponizing it and using it against each other. Because if in the event that somebody may be experiencing that particular diagnosis, we could miss out on actually helping them or getting them the help that they need. And when we're talking about narcissism and how it shows up in relationships, oh man, this could be a whole nother episode here. But how it shows up in relationships is when a person is a narcissist, right? They're very manipulative. They're very non-empathetic. It's all about me, my, and mine. It's all about me, mine, and mine at that point. They like to take over, make them the center of attention, right? Monopolize conversations, what I mean? Grandiose, very braggadocio, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's all about how they can get the upper hand, the upper advantage in the relationship. And it's like I was talking about on the radio show, it's various types of narcissism too that people don't really hear about. But I can dive into that if you want me to.
Yeah, definitely. To give us a little. What are the types?
Yeah. So it's 3 types of narcissists, right? You got the malignant narcissist or the toxic narcissist, right? That particular narcissist is very aggressive, very violent, again, likes to control you, manipulate you, things like that. Then you got the covert narcissist. This is the narcissist, this is the type of person that always plays the victim, very highly sensitive and feels like everybody misunderstands him or her, because women can be
Mm-hmm.
narcissists. Misunderstands him or her, you know what I mean? And they feel as though like everybody is a hater towards them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing about like a covert narcissist is that they pose as they very friendly, very outgoing, but underneath of that, they have these covert tendencies that if you're not aware, you'll miss it. But
Yeah.
that's a covert narcissist. And then of course, you got the grandiose, that narcissist right there. They the center of attention, monopolizing conversations. It's all about me.
Mm.
How can I get the upper hand in the situation? Doing whatever it takes to put the attention on them
Yeah.
off of you. So that's the grandiose narcissist, the covert, and the malignant
Mm.
narcissist.
So how do you call them out on that? Like, yo, what are you supposed to say? Like, yo,
So,
pipe down. Like,
so
get
with a
your
narcissist, with that, you don't call them out. They gonna expose themselves.
right.
Because
But you
when
don't
you
want the behavior to continue. So when I say call them out, what do you like? I'm not gonna sit around and
right,
think that you so grandiose that the earth and the stars and the moon set on you and don't
right,
nobody else matter.
right. But the thing is, with a narcissist, that's what they expect from you. They
Mm-hmm.
expect you to call them out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go a different route, because that's what they expect. They expect for you to point out their flaws or point out the behavior. So in order for you to redirect yourself in that, just say to yourself, okay, the behavior is going to expose themselves. It's going to expose itself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say much. You don't got to put it on social media. You don't got to call him or her out. Eventually, as they say, what happens in the dark is going to
Comes to
come to the
light.
light and it's going to be
Absolutely.
exposed. And another thing too is if you are in a relationship with a narcissist and it's becoming very impactful to your mental health,
Mm.
this is major. And I know sometimes it can be hard because we have emotional ties to this person. We invested in the relationship. But one thing to heal from a narcissist, if you are in that relationship and it's impacting your mental health, is have no type of contact.
Wow.
So no type of contact. Sever as much as you can all ties from that person. You don't want them to have access to you on a regular.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to have no type of contact with this person is
Wow.
very critical in preserving your mental health if you find yourself in a relationship with a narcissist.
Mm. Well, there y'all have it. I mean, that's some good information. So listen, some men feel overwhelmed and stressed because they are not as far as they want to be in
Mm-hmm.
life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this leaves them feeling a little inadequate
Right.
and not only, in life, but really in the bedroom too. Okay. So, what can he do to improve his performance during sex when he has so much on his mind, so much that he's dealing with in terms of trauma and all of that? How does he get his game up and get his head in the game when having sex?
Gotcha. So that's like pregame. Pregame. You got to do the pregame warm up. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like get into your bag, right? Like I tell men with that, say some affirmations, right? Get yourself confident, build up that inner dialogue that I am the man. I'm that dude. I'm that man, right? So build
okay.
up yourself, right? And also, and this may be very transparent, but just even having if you can, and we talked about how can women support
Yeah.
having a conversation with the person that you're having sex with, like, hey, sometimes I be feeling XYZ when we in the bedroom. Just being open about your sexual experience with your partner too can help to relieve that stress that you may be having while engaging in sex as a man. having that conversation, and also knowing that having that conversation doesn't make you weak.
Yeah.
Having that conversation with your partner about your sexual performance doesn't mean that you're missing the aim in the bedroom, but it just alerts your partner to know, okay, this is what he's feeling, this is how he's, performing,
Yeah.
and he's expressing himself. Then your partner can come in and maybe support you during that time. So having those open and honest conversations about sex and things like that, and the performance of sex can also be a stress reliever, so that you're not coming into the bedroom weighted down like, oh, did I do that right? Did I stroke it right? But you already had that conversation with your mate. And then in that moment, don't chastise them, don't make them feel embarrassed, but hear them out. And then you guys can talk about ways, okay, how can we make this better? Do we need to bring toys in the room? What else can we do to make the room more comfortable for you? So this is the female talking to the man once the man opens up about, some of his shortcomings. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. Opening up about perceived or even real weaknesses, again, frees you as a man. So whether it's in the bedroom, whether it's in the boardroom, hey, we all have struggles.
Yes.
And having these conversations, even as I know we're talking about sex for us as men, and if we, have a lot on our mind, but this goes to the point that we are human. So we are human. So we're going to encounter struggles, we're going to encounter shortcomings, but that doesn't make you less of a man if you express your shortcomings. And in this case, talking about, hey, babe, I want to talk to you about some of the things that's going on in the bedroom with me.
Don't do it while having sex.
No, not while having sex.
You're like, can you
like,
say
you
that
just ruined the mood. You just ruined the mood. That's why I said the pregame. Pregame.
Okay.
Not doing. Hey, babe, I'm limp right now. Oh, not doing sex, but pregame, having that conversation and just being open and honest with that.
So until a man is ready to go full-fledged and get mental health, like sit on somebody's sofa or, really seek that one-on-one professional help, what are some other things that he can do to help him? I think you touched on it briefly earlier.
Yeah. So definitely journaling, taking some time to write out your feelings, get around brothers that are positive and that really support you. Tapping into, motivational content. So for me, I listen to the shows like The Pivot, shows like that, where it's really Black men just being honest about their experiences, even though they were successful football players, they opening up about their experiences. So tapping into some positive content that can enrich you as a man. Definitely going to different conferences, male conferences that's being hosted, tapping into conversations like this. So if you're surfing the internet, again on IG, you want to find conversations that can speak positive into your life and that can pour into your life. Getting with mentors, things like that. If you are going to church, connecting with your pastor is a way. If you don't want to necessarily go to therapy right away, you can tap into those outlets as well. Exercising, moving your body, eating right, eating healthy, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. So we're coming to a close. Here is the final thought here tonight. You are the urban_counselor on IG and Ethos Radio on AMP. Certainly, y'all tap in, follow him, follow Damn Shame Podcast, because that's what it's all about. But here is one final thing. I want you, Mr. Lewis, to look in that camera to our brothers and speak to the men who feel like they're just maybe kind of, I want to take the first step. I don't know how to take the first step. What is it that he can do? What would you tell that brother where he know he might want to talk to somebody, but he's just not too sure? What? Look in that camera and tell him.
Yeah. So, brother, if you really are thinking about, coming in and talking with somebody, but you may be on the fence, I want to say that, tapping in with a therapist is an asset and not a liability. Being able to talk to somebody that, sees you for who you are, that can identify with where you're coming from and also being able to keep things private within the room is a safe space, man. And as a therapist, it's always my goal to provide a safe space for men to open up because, again, it may be people outside that don't understand you. It may be people in your family that don't understand you, people in your community or systems that don't understand you. But as a therapist, as a Black male therapist, I understand you because I grew up too in different situations and various environments. And I understand even from a humanistic standpoint that, you know, what it means to be a man and also as a therapist to support you. So here in therapy, man, it's a safe space. You can be whoever you need to be in the room, express whatever you need to express. There's no judgment zone here. Again, where people on the outside may be judging you, here in therapy, we have conversations that are non-judgmental. And I'm here personally as a therapist to provide you with the tools and the resources to be a better man, to be the best man that you can be. And again, I'm non-biased.
Yeah.
I'm safe,
Yeah.
and I create safe spaces for men.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about it, to tap in. So again, therapy is an asset and not a liability. And again, strong men, we crack as well, but it's wise to have counsel around you
Yeah.
at all times.
Definitely. Definitely. Tonight's motivational thought is about reset. Don't be afraid to hit the reset button on your personal stopwatch. Life can throw so much your way, right? But remember, the race is not given to the swift, but to the one who endures. So stop your stopwatch, take a moment to regroup and recover. Hit that reset button because it's go time. Let's get it. Okay. Listen, Dana,
Yes.
Lewis, at underscore, what no, at urban
Underscore.
underscore counselor
Got it.
on Instagram and Ethos. Are you on Facebook as well?
Facebook is just my name, Dana Lewis, but I don't be on Facebook. I'll be on IG and
Okay.
AMP. Catch me on AMP.
Yes, he is going to be tagged. Those books, those mentoring resources that he's given us, that will also be posted as well. This is good information, brothers. We love y'all. We value you. We need you. Y'all are important to us. KiKi, like I said, I don't care if it's the brother hanging on the back of the trash truck
Right.
or on the 15th floor
Yes,
of the corner office. The men and mental health is so important. And
right.
that's why I wanted to take tonight to pour into you all. I'm telling you, the urban counselor, y'all got to follow this brother. He's so dope and he can get you the help that you need. I can get you in touch with him as well.
Yeah.
Y'all, I love y'all for watching. Thank you so much. Our next show will be live Monday, April the 3rd. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Damn Shame Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. You can also find our replays on any podcast platform if you just want to hear us. But if you want to see us, out. I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching.
Peace, y'all.
Out. Hey. It's a Damn Shame Podcast. Thank y'all.